I'm thinking about switching over to Resolve permanently. I need a studio version for H.265 encoding on PC, hardware acceleration and the ability to run projects from my server. Since you get the studio version with the Pocket 4K, I thought that could be a good deal for me. So I borrowed a Pocket 4K from my friend Daniel to test it out. Before we compare the image to my other cameras, I would like to quickly talk about my first impressions shooting with it. I already have a speed booster for Micro Four Thirds, so I put that on and a 16-35 lens and took it with me for a couple of days. However, I immediately ran into a problem. The touchscreen had a mental breakdown and started to zoom in and out without me doing anything. I updated the firmware and still had the problem, but after a while, it went away.
Den är inte trasig, jag renoverar bara. Det blir nog lugnt.
Unfortunately, when I was out testing, I was painfully reminded of the hassle with screw-on filters.
Oj nej.
Vadå?
Fucking ND-filter Caputo.
However, I find the night footage to be quite good. The dual native ISO is an impressive feature on this camera. If you understand how it works and where to put the ISO in different situations. Unfortunately, I underexposed the footage a little bit. At the higher ends of the two base ISO, the camera needs to be exposed far to the right to stay clean. But in this shot here, the camera really shines. The sky looks great. If this was my Sony A7 III in S-Log, it would break apart. Thumbs up for 10-bit 422 ProRes at this price point. Since I have a Nikon speed booster, I had no lens stabilization, and the handheld footage looks awful. The form factor of this camera is horrible with a non-stabilized and heavy lens. I refuse to invest in Micro Four Thirds lenses, so a Canon speed booster would be preferred with a wide stabilized lens for going handheld. But that is an expensive investment. That puts us closer to the 6K Pro that already has built-in ND filters and an active Canon lens mount. The field of view with the 4K and speed booster is wider than Super 35, and that's nice though. Out on a sunny day, the screen is just horrible. I see myself reflected in the screen and basically nothing else. It's a good screen indoor though. I have V-mount batteries, cage and stuff for it, but I already have big cameras with that kind of form factor. I would use this camera as a smaller form factor camera in case I buy one. The one I borrowed came with a battery grip, and I think even though the battery life is still unimpressive, it gets the job done if you use the camera efficiently. However, if I'm on a job, I do not want to think about these things. I'm spoiled. My F3 can run for about 350 minutes on one BPU68 battery. Using the camera indoors with plug-in power and a tripod must be the most trouble-free way to use this camera. And with that said, let's look at some comparison shots. The cameras I compare it with are the original Ursa Mini 4K, my Sony F3 and my Sony A7 III. I graded using the color transformation function in Davinci Resolve to simple Rec 709. I shot the Blackmagic cameras at their native 400 ISO and the Sony cameras at their native 800 ISO. But I still use the same f-stop and the same lens. In my experience, S-Log should be exposed pretty much as if it was shot at 400 instead of 800. The Pocket 4K was fairly easy to get to a good Rec 709 image. The Ursa 4K was super easy to get a good image using this function in Davinci Resolve. This is such an underrated camera in my opinion. Moving over to the Sony A7 III. Okay, let's go back to the Pocket 4K. The Sony A7 III almost looks identical to the Pocket 4K. I would have guessed the skin tones would be different, but they're damn close. However, the low bit depth of the Sony really reveals itself on the white wall. These ugly color shifts and banding. Ugh. But taking the form factor, image stabilization, battery life and autofocus in consideration, if I only had to pick one camera to use in the field, it would definitely be the Sony over the Pocket 4K. Now let's go to the camera that has gotten a lot of attention on this channel before, the Sony F3. Let's do a color transform. Okay, this camera needs some work. Damn, those colors are so clean. It's almost pastel-like. It produces the cleanest whites of all the cameras. But it also has the softest image, and the red are a bit over-exaggerated. If I instead use the RE color as the input in Resolve, I get a more natural look. Okay, let's have another look at all the clips. What camera did you like the best? Let me know in the comment section. So, will I buy the Pocket 4K to get Davinci Resolve Studio for free? It's a good deal, but I already have cameras. I enjoyed working with it and I think it's perfect if you're just starting out. But for me, I think I'm gonna save my money to buy something better. Perhaps a Canon C70 or an FX6 or a Pocket 6K Pro. It's difficult to buy a camera in 2021. See you next time.